All right, good evening, Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's our regular council meeting for May 11. We are going to start tonight with the moment of reflection. Before we get into the approval of the agendas, so we'll start with that moment of reflection now. All right, thank you, everyone. Moving on to consent agenda. If there's no need to pull anything, motion to approve the consent agenda. Councillor Fox makes the motion. If there's no discussion on the consent agenda, one question, Councillor Patience.
Right, just a quick one, probably for Councillor Monteith. In the minutes of the March meeting from the Pioneer or from the Willow Creek Foundation, I see a motion to direct the facility committee to proceed with planning a new facility and ask the town of Fort Macleod to hold their reserve land at Macleod Landing. Is that a request we've seen formally so yet?
We've had people wait,
Okay,
so I guess they haven't yet, but it will.
it's coming. Okay, good. Well, that's good news.
Take that as your formal precursor or foreshadowing. Yeah. All right, motion's on the floor to approve the consent agenda. If there's no other questions on the consent agenda, we'll call it the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And the regular meeting agenda, I've heard of no additional items to add or adjust, so a motion to approve the agenda is presented. Councillor Poitras makes a motion. Call it the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. For the good of council, does anyone have something they wish to share with the whole council? There's some exciting things going on in town with construction. We got the stoplights. I think they should be done putting work this week, right? And then it's got a month or so hiatus before they start putting up the poles and such, I hear. So it's looking pretty cool. Councillor Butchers.
You betcha. This past weekend was the FP Walsh Alumni Volleyball Tournament. There's lots of volleyball tournaments that happen at FP Walsh, and this one was just for FP Walsh alumni coming back, and it was quite a few people, faces we haven't seen for a long time. We're back in town, so it's good to rub shoulders there. I see that our Director of Community Service, Lisa Gillingham, is not here. She played in the tournament and must be home icing her knees or something. She did great. Yeah, so that was a good time. I guess one other item coming up next weekend is the town's spring cleanup event. And so I believe we're doing waste collection and vouchers for the landfill, correct? That can be picked up at the town office. And backyard landscaping waste removal, I think, has already started, or will soon. After, okay, so yeah, great time of the year to get the town all cleaned up, and so we'll look forward to that.
Very good, thank you. Any other comments, discussion? I know in the consent agenda I had some details on Alberta Southwest. They have their AGM coming up June 3rd, I believe, and all of council is invited, so you should see an email coming on that soon. So if you're interested in attending, that'll be at the Heritage Acres by Cowley, Pinch Creek area. And it's usually a good time, a lot of good speakers and good networking, so I encourage council to consider attending. That's the first Wednesday in June. CEO Burdett.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week we had the opportunity to go to the grand opening of Structural Truss and Form Steel. It was a great opportunity to kind of celebrate them and the community, and the great benefit that's going to be going forward. I thought it was particularly great to see so many representatives from the province, our MLA and the MP, and I think it's just a great demonstration of how that project's so much bigger than just our small community, and it's going to be a great legacy going forward.
Yes. Very good. Any other comments, discussion, highlights? If not, we'll move on to delegations for tonight, of which we have one, and we want to welcome STARS here tonight to be able to come and present to council. We look forward to hearing from you. We do have a PowerPoint presentation as well, so the floor is yours, and thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Fader and Council. It's very nice to come back to Council again and bring you your third annual update from STARS. So for the new councillors who haven't met me yet, I'm Jackie Seeley, Development Officer with STARS. I cover the bottom half of the province, visiting municipalities. I actually live in the town of Bassano, where I work remotely, and prior to working at STARS, I worked in nonprofit in the community and also served on our council, so I can appreciate all the work that you put in to your community. STARS celebrated 40 years last year on December 1st, and with over 63,000 missions flown, as a charitable organization, we continue to operate at no cost to the patient, thanks to donors like you. A few updates at STARS. We do have a new CEO, and that's Dr. John Froh. He was our former Chief Medical Officer, and so then took over at the helm in January 2025. So very much a critical care expert and innovator like our founder, Dr. Gregory Powell. Dr. Powell unfortunately did pass away at the end of August 2025. And just to give a quick overview of STARS of how it began, it was when a pregnant woman who had recently given birth to a newborn that she was not able to get to the tertiary care that she needed before she passed away. So leaving behind a father and their newborn, Dr. Powell said her death was one too many and something had to be done. So they began the work to literally get some seed funding and get STARS off the ground. So as I mentioned, December 1st, our first mission was flown, but what I didn't tell you is it was to Lethbridge, Alberta, for critically ill newborn Kelly Waldron. So on the left, you can see a photo of Kelly with her husband and children, and she has a business in Lethbridge. And I think as community members, it is important to reflect on the ripple effect of a life saved and the positive impact that has on a community. In the beginning, you can see on the bottom right that we were Lions Air Ambulance, and that's because that's where the seed funding came from, was Lions Alberta. The Lions logo is on every single one of our helicopters today in recognition of that partnership, with many Lions clubs still supporting. Later on, we became STARS, Shock Trauma Air Rescue Service, and in the middle there, that's when the helicopter was painted red. That's our BK-117 helicopter that served us well for 37 years. In 2021, we began phasing in our fleet of 10 H-145 helicopters. So these are identically equipped as airborne intensive care units. We do have 6 bases across Western Canada now. Initially it was Calgary, then we added Edmonton and Grand Prairie, and then in Saskatchewan, Saskatoon and Regina, and then a base in Winnipeg, Manitoba. From Calgary and Grand Prairie, we fly a number of missions into BC as well. We work with multiple partners in the chain of survival. First and foremost, your local fire department for helping with the safe landing of the helicopter at scene calls. As you can see, in some cases, for example, in southern Alberta, maybe Edmonton and Calgary will respond to a call. But also, we work with other partners in the chain of survival on a regular day-to-day basis, ground ambulance, search and rescue, Alberta Health Services fixed wing, and of course with your local hospitals and medical staff. The types of missions that we fly for has changed a little bit from what we reported to you last year. Cardiac is now the #1 mission at 21%. After that, vehicle incidents at 19%, and then a mix of other trauma-related illnesses and injuries here. Here is a 5-year mission overview within the MD of Willow Creek up to 2025. Over the past 5 years, 112 missions flown. So that's 112 lives that had the very best chance at survival. And so as you can see, there are a number of scene calls, and that is where the fire departments do help with the safe landing of the helicopter. And then we have 2 hospitals within the region, Claresholm and your hospital here, that have a number of interfacility transfers. So this is where, when a patient has typically been brought in by ground ambulance or has gone to the hospital and has become critically ill and injured, that the hospital requests that STARS come and pick up the patient to take them to tertiary care. In the case where Fort Macleod is, these transfers are taking place from the airport. Some patients may also be taken from the Claresholm Hospital. So you may recall that last year we showed you postal code project that showed, based on patient postal code information only, that where your residents have been flown across Western Canada. We are currently updating that, and we'll bring you more information on that again next year so that you can see that. In 2026, 8 missions have been flown so far up to the end of April 30th within the MD of Willow Creek. We'll do an overview of how we are funded. So this is a little bit different than what we showed you last year. Our direct operating costs are $36.6 million. That's up from previously 34.2. We do receive $15 million per year from Alberta Health Services, our largest donor, so very appreciative of the funds that provide us sustainability there. And then after that, it's business, corporate, and individual donations, community-driven fundraisers like the Fort Macleod Volleyball Tournament, Tabor Charity Auction. They just celebrated 30 years this year and were recognized with a second logo unveiling for reaching 1 million in cumulative giving. Also around Fort Macleod, SAIL, Southern Alberta Livestock Exchange, puts funds towards STARS each year. And also I want to mention the Alberta Feeders Association. They have been the longest standing partner with STARS for fundraising events, and so they just had a $1 million logo unveiling on the helicopter in Edmonton as well. And a big shout out down here to Big Sky Feeders, who really stepped up a lot at the fundraiser this year, as well as many other feeders across the province. So then after the community-driven fundraisers, we also have the municipal initiative, which you've been part of now since 2024. So thank you for being in a united partnership with STARS. Also, the STARS lottery provides almost enough funding to pay for one base in Alberta. So thank you to anyone that buys the lottery tickets. That takes away a lot of the heavy lifting of fundraising. Here is the map of the different levels of support from municipalities across Alberta and Northeast BC. Municipalities recognize STARS as an essential extension to the emergency services in their community. And with that, we have over 95% of rural Alberta municipalities supporting. 80% of those are regional leaders that are over the $2 per capita, and Town of Fort Macleod falls within our regional leaders. So if you take a look at the map, you can see the legend there. The light gray areas are under the $2 per capita. The sea of navy blue is our regional leaders. Provincial leaders are shown in the teal green. And so we have 9 provincial leaders across Alberta and Northeast BC. And this year we're going to recognize 3 more. And so these provincial leaders are recognized when they reach a minimum of $500,000 in cumulative giving. And then at each $500,000 increment, we do a logo unveiling on the helicopter and on at least one asset, and then increase from there. Regional partner, pardon me, before I move on to that, I should mention that this year, Foothills County becomes a provincial leader for reaching $500,000 in cumulative giving, as well as Mountain View County for the same. And then we also have one with special areas coming up over in the east, kind of central and southern area there. Full regional partnerships have continued to grow. So we have 20, actually I think it's 27 now full regional partnerships. And this is where the county or MD and the towns and villages within the county's boundaries are all supporting. And so this has really created a sustainable pillar by uniting so many municipalities together that are in support of this service for rural Alberta. Just to touch on our crew, we do have a world-class crew. I've spoke about this a little bit before, but just to mention that our team of 2 again this year took first place at the annual Air Medical Transport Conference. That's international simulation competition where a farm accident was replicated, and our team had to make quick decision making in a changing environment, triage the 5 patients, and then they're graded on their timing, decision making, and outcome of the patient. And so with that, again, they took first place. But what I really want to emphasize here with you is that this is what you're making possible in your community, is to bring world-class care right to the patient's side. So thank you, Town of Fort Macleod, for providing sustainable funding to STARS. We are on a 3-year pledge right now, so we greatly appreciate that at $6,600 per year as a regional leader. STARS operates 24/7 and is the best hope in a worst case scenario, and it's thanks to your partnership for making it possible.
Thank you, Jackie, for that presentation. Very much appreciated it. And does council have any questions regarding anything that was presented? Oh, yeah, Councillor Patience.
Yeah, I don't have a question really, but I've unfortunately had several friends who have had the need to use STARS, and I just want to say how invaluable it is and how many lives it saved of people that I actually know. So I do appreciate the work that STARS does, and I'm happy to see that we're contributing.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Any other thoughts or comments, questions from council? I believe I would echo council's opinion too, and we definitely value the service and the coverage in our community, and it's glad to see the use in our area is not that high, but having access to the support and the team and the skill is very much appreciated, and I'd say council fully appreciates the service that's being provided through STARS. So unless there's any other questions, we do want to thank you for coming and presenting today. If there's any suggestions you may have on how we can better support or promote the services of STARS, we definitely can do that as well. But I know the STARS volleyball tournaments is an ongoing supporter, and I know this year they might have been a little smaller tournament than normal because of the arena floor being replaced. But I'm sure next year we'll be back in full force.
Okay. Excellent. I would just note that, bringing your annual update, we appreciate to have the opportunity to educate you on more things that are happening at STARS internally that makes this all possible with your donation, but also to say that the leadership you've had in helping us build a more regional partnership within the MD of Willow Creek and across southern Alberta, it does make a difference. So we almost do have a full regional partnership within the MD of Willow Creek now.
So you said that very carefully, almost.
Well,
I'm sure you don't want to name any names, but
so
if there's anything we can do to help encourage our regional communities to support, then we can look at doing that, helping out some way there.
we are doing quite well throughout most of the counties. We are trying to still build more regional partnerships within Lethbridge County.
Okay.
So we appreciate your advocacy in the different places you may travel.
And sorry, the fleet, I see in one slide you have, is it a fleet of 10 right now? Or
Yes.
is it a fleet bigger than that as well?
It is a fleet of 10 H145s that are identically equipped.
They're all replaced.
Yeah, they are all replaced. That was a huge capital campaign,
That was big.
150 million.
Yikes.
Yeah, and we did have some federal funding on that project, which we normally don't receive federal funding. So federal funded 7 of the helicopters.
Oh, wow. That's
Alberta Health Services or Alberta government funded 2, one or 2, and then we had to fundraise for the remaining helicopters. So they are 13 million per helicopter, but then it cost an additional 2 million per helicopter to get them outfitted accordingly, and then to also have our pilots do training. So we had to also have relief pilots to fly while our pilots were taking training. And so they do that through simulation training through the company that builds the aircraft, and that's down in Texas. So that added a lot more to it. But these H145 helicopters are similar to the BK117. It's just the newer version of it.
right.
Yeah.
And they're good for 10, 15 years?
Quite a long time. Maybe they'll last as long as our last fleet of 37 years.
Oh my, yeah.
We do have our own engineering team. So with a fleet of 10, we do have that, because if something happens that a rotor is broken or different things occur, we need to be able to fix that aircraft immediately to get it back in operation. And then also every 400, 800, and 1200 hours, the helicopter must undergo a full maintenance inspection and, all of the regular maintenance on it as well. So sometimes there's a helicopter that's out of service. So there's 6 that are operational all of the time. And then we try to have 2 backup ones should something happen to another helicopter, or to rotate out when maintenance schedules are underway. And then also to try and have helicopters for public relation type of events, like a logo unveiling.
Okay. And then no fixed wing anymore, right?
There still is Alberta Health Services fixed wing, and sometimes STARS crew will go on fixed wing as well.
Okay.
Just depends on the needs of the patient.
Okay, so the staff will move between units if they need to.
Absolutely. Sometimes by Alberta Health Services fixed wing, and sometimes by ground ambulance if the patient is unable to fly.
Okay, that's good. And then the helicopters, I think you had them are they in 6 locations, or are they?
So each one of our bases, we do have 6 bases. So there's at least 1 helicopter at each base.
Yeah.
I walked into the Calgary base one day and there was 3 helicopters in there, 2 that were being worked on. And then 4 days later I walked in and there was 1 helicopter there. So things are always changing and evolving.
Sure.
And so it's great to have the additional helicopters as needs change.
Sure. Okay. Oh, very good. Any other thoughts, questions? If not, we want to thank you for coming again to Fort Macleod and highlighting what STARS does in our region, in our province, and Western Canada, really, right? So we appreciate what you do.
Thank you. And I will leave you with a couple helicopters. I'll leave you with a couple calendars with the helicopter on it.
Toy helicopters.
One for your fire department and one for your office here.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you so
ongoing
much.
support.
Wish you well.
Thank you.
All right. That was very good. We are going to move on now to new business, and we have 6 items in new business, and we'll start with bylaw 2020, which is land use bylaw amendments, and we're going to ask our planner, Gavin Scott, to introduce this bylaw to us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This evening, we have for your consideration first reading of bylaw 2020. It is an amending bylaw to bylaw 2000. The purpose of the bylaw is to designate lands legally described as a portion of Lot 1, Block 2, Plan 05-13590, from residential to public institutional. The recommendation this evening is to pass first reading and set the public hearing for June 8th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you for introducing that for us. I would call for a motion as per the recommendation tonight. Councillor Fox makes a motion for first reading and advertising for public hearing. Does anyone have any questions regarding this bylaw? I think it's pretty good. Councillor Patience.
Yeah, just one question. Obviously, we've been working on this park since last fall. I'm just curious why we haven't done this already.
Oh, you'd have to ask.
I didn't want to be.
Gavin,
You would
or
typically do it ahead of
administration,
time,
would you-
right? So
Yeah.
I have to ask.
CEO Burdette.
I know for my purposes that there is a subdivision coming forward. For the subdivision, I do need the zoning in place. As to the building going on, that is an administration question.
Yeah, perhaps I guess the timeliness of the rezone is a bit backwards in this case. But yeah, with the rapid development of the area, it was brought forth to council to discuss that and to essentially adjust where the original plan for the park would be with the first concept plan of the area structure plan in that area, and to shift it up closer to this higher density location. To be honest, why didn't we do the rezone back when we talked about the park? I think that was just a missed detail. But yeah, we'll remedy that today, and next park, we'll try to rezone it before we start putting in a pathway and a rink.
Yeah, I don't think it would have had any negative impact on anyone, but yeah, it should have been done sooner. See how the public hearing goes. Yeah. All right, the motion is on the floor. Any further questions or discussion? Call it to question. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to bylaw 2021, we'll ask for the same for our planner Gavin Scott to introduce this bylaw to us.
Thank you. For this consideration of bylaw 2021, it is also an amending bylaw to bylaw 2000, being the land use bylaw. The purpose of the bylaw is to redesignate lands legally described as Plan 12-12-310, Block 31, Lot 3, from agriculture residential transitional to residential and public. So there's a mix of zoning there. And from agriculture residential transitional to multi-unit and public institutional. The recommendation this evening is to pass first reading and set the public hearing date for June 8th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Very good. I will call for a motion for motion as per the recommendation. Councillor Patience makes the motion as per the recommendations, so it's a few rezoning changes. Any questions regarding bylaw 2021, a land use bylaw amendment? Staking lands in the McLeod Landing that have been planned, the engineering's done. We didn't do all the rezoning until phase 3 was proceeding. So now that we have the details confirmed, we're going through a bylaw change or a zoning change, and yeah, pretty straightforward, I would say. Any other questions or comments regarding this bylaw? Councillor Patience has a question.
Just one. I just want to confirm, because I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, that the 3.2 acre parcel was sufficient size for an assisted living.
That was our understanding, yes. And I think the option was that some of that land could be used for residential zoning too.
Yes, I do remember the conversation. I just couldn't remember whether that was sufficient size. So.
Senior Burdette.
Yes, and thank you for the question. In our research with a number of other senior housing establishments, they varied from 0.5 acres to 5 acres. And the organizations that we connected with locally and in the region all had said that that was a suitable size for seniors housing development.
I think from my mind, it raises a little bit of a question for the land north of that one street where it has 31.3 on it. Would that not be better classifying as a multi-unit, 1 or 2, if the seniors' land, if they want to use part of that for some of it? And that was some of our discussions, right? To have, like private suites off the street, but they would likely be multi-family more than just single-family residence. And I suppose they could buy and consolidate up to 3-unit apartments there, correct? Or not? 2, 3?
Yeah, in the residential, Gavin's here, so he can correct me. We can have up to 2 units on residential. So if they did want to go to 3 or 4, we would have to do multifamily or multi-unit 1. But yeah, that's something that could be done. Our understanding of the discussions with council was that, there's going to be 8 lots there, and so even if they wanted to do 2 units in each one, right? But there are 8 individual lots, and so if they weren't consolidating them, one could still have 2 units per. With application, of course. But if someone was ambitious and wanted to do something entirely different, we would just bring it back to council. Gavin, did you have anything to add on that?
I did not. You got everything correct.
Sorry, you said he was correct? Did I hear that? So yeah, the off chance those lands there on the north side of that street would be wanted by a future developer, they would have to come back to council and have that rezoned. If they wanted, say, a 4-unit townhomes or seniors residence or something
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
We wouldn't want to do that now.
I would say without knowing the possibility, I think the highest probability is that those do end up being residential. And perhaps half or maybe some do end up going, like, I know with council and administration, we love the idea of, if it's like a seniors and then, not quite ready to be in the home, but, a little bit of independence. I think that idea is fantastic. Just not having someone ready to implement that idea right now, we thought the best option was it can stay residential, which allows for the community to continue. But if something like that does come forward, we would definitely proceed with it, and we'd accept it quite readily.
Okay, very good. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, debate? Otherwise, the motion is on the floor, and we'll call the motion to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to bylaw 2022, and again, we'll ask our planner Gavin Scott to speak to bylaw 2022.
Thank you. Bylaw 2022 is an amending bylaw to bylaw 1961, being the McLeod Landing Area Structure Plan. The purpose of the bylaw is to update the land use concept and so that it better reflects the subdivision and district designation decisions since the time of its adoption. So it is related to the last item, which is doing the zoning for that property, but because of the extensive changes, we felt that it was necessary to update the ASP. There is a bit of an allowance for minor changes to happen, and those minor changes have been going on. This becomes a major change with the removal of a portion of this seniors land facility and the introduction of a couple other features within this. And so administration does recommend moving forward with first reading and setting the public hearing for June 8th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Very good. Requesting then a motion from council for first reading of bylaw 2022. Councillor Fox makes the motion. Is there any questions on bylaw 22 and what has been presented? If there's no questions, I think similar comments. So say the developer of that piece wants to buy all those 8 lots. That's totally possible. This wouldn't limit anything regarding that. Monsieur Burdette?
Just to add one comment to that, as we have discussed with council, the idea of pre-sales and getting things started, what we would do as well is put the first rows, the first 3 rows of houses for pre-sale, and hold off on that other row as we kind of also are reaching out and discussing with potential seniors establishments, and then it gives them the opportunity without, you know, someone going and buying one of them in the middle and throwing off somebody's plan. But that's our intention at this point.
And if for some reason the seniors home wanted that whole piece back, is that still possible as well, right? If they wanted to develop on it?
That is a possibility. We are planning to move forward in servicing all those 8 lots on the south, and so there's the cost associated with that. And so at that time, we'd have to look at what it is that they're planning and whether or not council would be agreeable to selling all 8 lots at 8 lot price or re-looking at the whole establishment.
Yeah, worst case, you'd have servicing that's not going to get used. All right, if there's no other questions, comments, or discussion, we look forward to the public hearing. We'll call the motion to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FCSS and the town fleet purchase. And we'll look forward to our Director of Operations speaking to this item.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So for this one, the recommendation is that there is an approval for an additional $30,000 in capital cost to the 2026 budget. And this would be for the purchase of a town fleet vehicle in conjunction with the FCSS and its approved assisted transportation program grant. Just a little bit of background, FCSS did apply for this grant and received $30,000. And that includes several things, but we're looking at the purchase of a vehicle, specific insurance for the drivers participating in the assisted transportation program, and the driver compensation. So FCSS have reached out to the town to partner in this purchase to help with those costs. And then there would be a shared agreement for the use of that vehicle to be coordinated between the 2 parties.
Very well. Is there anyone on council willing to make a motion as per the recommendation? Councillor Monteith makes the motion as per the recommendation. Any questions regarding this? Councillor Poitras?
Yeah, first off, congratulations to FCSS for receiving this grant. That's amazing. My question was, is this vehicle intended mostly for out-of-town appointments? It just seemed to me like, we have a handy bus that it seems like it'd just be doubling up on what the handy bus does. So just some clarification on the intended use of this vehicle.
I can speak to that. Yes, and this is intended for those out of town. Because yes, we had that discussion with the FCSS and they recognized the same thing. The handy bus can service appointments in town and support those seniors and people with mobility issues, but this is intended to take them to an appointment in Lethbridge, to take them to a few other places. But I do believe it can also be used in town, and so there's being a new program, there's still a lot to discover, but they're establishing that, and we can bring FCSS in to more fully elaborate on the program too.
Councillor Patience has a question.
Yeah, thank you for that, because that was certainly part of my question. I may be just being elected in the fall. I have not seen anything on a program for a vehicle for this purpose. So I recognize that we have a grant, which I think is great. But what are we looking at for operational cost of this? Are we looking at revenue for these trips? How, like, I haven't seen any business case to just go purchase a vehicle. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Not only are we looking at additional capital budget funds, but are we looking at operational funds as well?
And just so I'm clear, this is an FCS approved project, right? So the asset stays with the town, but all the operating, I'm assuming, stays with FCSS, but see over that.
Yes, correct. So the 30,000 is for the asset, for the car itself, and that the agreement would be that it does rest with the town. The MOU, the agreement that we're going to have between FCSS and the town, is to help share the cost, because the town does intend to take advantage of it when it doesn't need to be used for FCSS. The town only has one vehicle in our administrative fleet, and so this would support in many instances when it's not being used for those trips for FCSS. But along with the FCSS grant that gave the 30,000, there are continued operational costs to cover their costs for the next 3 years for gas. I mean, this grant goes as far as paying for the driver and insurance and all those things. The exact plan or the program hasn't been brought forward to council from FCSS, but that's definitely something we can bring forward to share what FCSS has planned and how they intend to use the grant dollars they've received.
Thank you, CEO Burdette. I appreciate that. So are you suggesting then that there'd be no additional operational expenses to the town? Just a capital purchase?
There would be the proportional operational costs. And so if we...
Like mileage based?
Yeah, so if we end up, right, like let's say, as they adjust and are learning how much they can use the car for out-of-town trips and for supporting their clientele, if it ended up being, oh, we do use it 25% of the time, we would want to pay for 25% of those costs, right? And we do have our mechanic who would be servicing it. Well, actually it'd be brand new, so for the first while it'd be serviced at the dealership. But yeah, so proportionately we'd be looking at sharing the costs.
And I do want to hit back on Councillor Poitras's comment. I think it's great if this can help people get in and out of the cities for medical appointments. I know I was challenged with my mother getting her back forth. That's great, but I certainly wouldn't want to see it start competing with the handy bus locally. I don't think that would be a positive effect. We already know that while the handy bus has money, they're lacking some volunteer support, and I think that program is very important to the municipality. So kudos to the FCSS, but I do say that with a word of caution.
Yeah, that was very good. Good
We have
discussion.
one more,
yes,
sorry.
for sure.
So where are we taking the $30,000 from?
The 30,000 is a grant that's coming in, so it's in and out for the town.
Or 30, yes.
You're asking, it would ultimately be coming out of reserves, right? It'd be adding to our capital, so we have to pull it out of our I don't know if,
Because it was unbudgeted, correct?
yes, then that's why it's coming here today, because it's not budgeted. So it'd be coming out of our reserve accounts. I don't know if Chris had allocated exactly which one we're pulling it out of, but yeah, 30,000 from our reserves.
So she's adding it to the fleet management thing. Sorry, I should have just read that tighter. Appreciate that, thank you.
Very good. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? The motion is on the floor. If there is no further discussion or questions, I will call the motion to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Alberta municipalities, CEO Burdette. I think I did send this to CEO Burdette to see if any other council members are interested in going. It's in Coaldale. I was hoping to attend. They do a spring caucus, typically in Edmonton, and then a summer caucus they do throughout the province. So, is there anything else you wanted to add to that, CEO Burdette?
No, just thank you, Mayor. This seems like a good opportunity to go to the Alberta Municipalities Summer Municipal Leaders Caucus. Mayor Fader had reached out to administration to check on the possibility, and obviously to go there. His time should be approved by council. Each councillor has about $850 allocated in their budget for individual training and events that perhaps interest them. But yeah, this seems like a great opportunity, and it's nice and close. So if there's other councillors that would be somewhat interested in attending too, we could see what availability there is.
Very good. So yes, the motion would be to approve the request of myself to attend,
Yes.
and if there's anyone else, for that to be included in the motion as well. Otherwise, a motion to, as per the recommendation. Councillor Fox makes the motion. Any further discussion? Call to question, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to the 2026 fee schedule, and I believe Lisa's not here today, so is that up to you, CEO Burdette?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Lisa would have also done a better job at answering the FCSS questions, but she was feeling a bit under the weather. Perhaps it was so too nice outside and she got a little bit sick. Just kidding, Lisa, if you're watching. So today, before you, Council, we have the fee schedule amendments. This was discussed in our committee of the whole meeting last week. The recommendation is that Council approves the 2026 fee schedule as presented. Just a couple of quick highlights. As discussed with Council last week, there were a few minor changes. They are highlighted in the fee tables on the following pages. Private rental, private rental, ice rental. I know the ones we had discussed in length. Oh, this one looks a little different than the one I had before. We had changed a few swimming lesson fees. And I know, let me find the right page here, floundering. Here we are. We had removed the fitness and lane swim prices and just included them in regular rate or regular season passes rate. We increased the swimming lesson rate from parent and tot from 35 to 40, swimmer 3 to 6 from 40 to 45. The rest, the other ones stayed the same, and then private lessons of any level went from 60 to 120. And then we also added a larger rate for rentals for 141 to 200 people. So council had the opportunity to discuss this in length with administration, and so we are requesting that it gets approved today. Just a reminder to council that we are waiting on additional information from the region, from other facilities and facilities foremen and other municipalities to see what everyone else is charging to have a really good comparison so that we do have some of those comparatives, but we are looking at making a regional approach just to make sure we're comparable. Thank you.
Very well. Motion to approve the fee schedule is presented. Anyone prepared to make that a motion? Yep.
We discussed the senior punch passes at our meeting last week, but that rate has not been changed. The 10 admissions for the price of 9 for seniors should be $49.50, not $58.50.
Yeah, that was agreed that that was a typo, so that didn't get caught yet. That was under seniors punch passes and going from $49.50 to $58.50. Should have stayed $49.50. Right?
Correct. So I'd make the motion with that amendment.
Sure. So motion to approve with the one amendment. Any further discussion or questions on the fee schedule? Yeah, and if there's any feedback, obviously, for throughout the season or whatever, I think getting that feedback, we can always look at it again next year. And do people buying passes at all indicate where they're living from? Just for...
No, we don't collect it. Address locations on.
If they're local or if they're...
No, if anything, I don't know if we even collect their PO box, but that's everybody anyway. I don't think we do.
Okay. I was curious if there's an opportunity this year to do that a little bit. It might be helpful, but...
We did discuss that and looking at possibilities on how to collect that information and the cost of, time and...
May not be worth it.
Yeah. We thought perhaps recognizing some of the user groups that use the pool and taking that as as an example and extrapolating that over the total population, perhaps that'd be a better use of time. But we gave it some thought, but in the end, we decided it was probably not worth the effort.
Motion's on the table with the one amendment. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the question on favor. Any opposed? Motion is carried. And there's no administrative reports. There's 3 in-camera items, so I'll request a motion to go in camera for those items. Councillor Patel makes the motion. All in favor? Motion is carried.